Right? Yes, okay. All right, so flip open those notes if you have not already to 919. And you guys, in today's title for the theme part, if you need a pen or a pencil, do you need a pen or a pencil? Who needs one? All right. So our message for tonight is called... Sorry, guys. Hold on. I'm running around. I should have done this earlier. I should have had one of the small group leaders. Hannah, there you go. Okay. Whoop. We'll be talking about, is God real? All right? Is God real? So each of these weeks, these are each what we're going to be talking about for the next couple weeks. Tonight we're going to be talking about, is God real? The next week is God good? And then, does God care? Okay? So we've talked about this idea, is God real? And before we do that, okay, this is the Apostles' Creed, first article, and this is what you guys will be saying for memory work, okay? And really what we're going to be talking about tonight is this first part, I believe in God. I believe in God, because there's so much that we can unpack here. And when we're talking about, is God real, we're not just talking about the idea that God specifically, the God that we believe in. What we're going to be defending tonight and talking about is God real? Meaning, is there even a God? And how do we know? There's a thing called apologetics, okay? Apologetics is not the study of being able to say, I'm sorry, but is the study of understanding God and how to defend your faith. And that's what we're doing in confirmation, is really a way of apologetics, of being able to teach you guys how to defend your faith and be able to say, I believe this because. Okay? And so this is what you guys will be saying from memory work, and obviously you're not going to remember this 100% word for word going through your life. But you will remember most of it. I've gone through now a ton of theology classes at Concordia and here and at my high school. And I've had to memorize this a few times. But I can honestly say this has helped me talk to my friends about God, those who are not Christians, and be able to say, well, I believe in God because of this. And I believe that He has done all this for me. So tonight as we talk about this, we'll be talking about, is God real? So, before we start, I got a video I want to show you guys, okay? So if you guys could please turn your attention to the screen and just listen. It's a clip from a movie that some of you guys may have already seen. Maybe you haven't. It's called God's Not Dead, okay? What the movie's about is a young man in college who's trying to pretty much debate his teacher on whether or not even God exists. All right? So this is from it, and I want to play this for you guys. So what the guy was doing, the student was doing, was trying to prove God. He was trying to show scientific reasons, showing philosophical, different reasons like that. But really, it comes down to the professor just doesn't like God because he has something that happened. And so it's not that he doesn't believe, it's just he's trying to say, I hate God. So, why did I show you that? I just wanted to show you guys that this debate and this talk about, is God real, something that happens every day. Okay, it's not just something that happens here that we're going to talk about here in Ignite, but it's something that you will encounter in the real world, especially if you live out your faith. And so the reason why this is important is because one third of teenagers in America believe that it is not possible to know for sure if God is real. These are not the main points that you need to bring down. These are more just opening up ideas, but you can write these down if you want. 1/3 of teenagers do not believe that it is not possible to know for sure if God is real, okay? Meaning they don't know if even God can be shown to be real. Teens the age of 13 to 18 years old are 2 times more likely as adults to say they're atheists. Atheist means the belief that you believe that there is no supernatural being, that there is nothing up there at all. And Christianity as a whole has been declining over the past 20 years. If you asked 20 years ago people if they were Christian, they would say yes. 88% of them would say yes. But today, and this study was done in 2018, right before COVID and all that, has gone down to 70% in 70%. That's sad. That's really sad. This is a study that was put out by a group called Barna. Barna was a group that they put out something new every year on teenagers. So anybody from the age of, I believe, 12 they actually start at, to about 18. This one was from 13 to 18. They poll about thousands of teenagers, and they ask certain questions, and they create a book. I actually have it right here, and I got to do a study of it called Gen Z. And in this specific study, they were just looking at to see how many were engaged in church in some way or engaged in as a Christian. 9% said they were engaged Christian, meaning they go to church, they read their Bible on a regular basis, they pray constantly, things like that. 33% of them say, I go to church on Sunday morning, and that's pretty much all. 16% say, I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church on Sunday morning. It's not for me. And then 7% had other faiths. So Muslim, Hinduism, Buddhism, those different religions, Buddhists, things like that. And then 34% have no religious affiliation at all, meaning they just don't agree with anything. And that can include people who are atheists, who don't believe in anything, or people who are agnostic, meaning they don't believe in a higher power at all. So, what is the point we're talking about? So the question is God real? And this is where we're going to start now taking notes. All right, point number 1. Every culture has a God. Let me point this out. A quote was put out, yet there is no nation so barbarous and no people so savage that they do not have a pervasive belief that there is a God. So meaning that they believe that there is some type of supernatural being. If you look through history at like the Egyptians, okay, they have so many gods. Do you realize that? They believe in so many gods. Same with the Greek people in history. If any of you from social studies, who ever read, you'll understand that they believe in multiple gods. Let's turn our Bibles to Romans 1, 18 through 20, like it says on the screen up there, okay? So if you got your Bibles, please, if you don't have one, share with the person next to you. That's fine. Share with Carter. I'll get you one. So flip open to Romans. It's right after the book of Acts, which is in the New Testament. All right. So we're looking at Romans 1, 18 through 20. And I'm gonna read this for you guys, but I want you guys to follow along in your Bibles, okay? So raise your hand when you have it. Yeah. For some of you guys, it might be on page 1,909. Wow, my Bible's the same as your guys', and mine's a little bit older. So 1,909, okay? So I'm going to read it for you guys. And it says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. What am I trying to show to you guys? The whole point is that there's no culture in humankind that has honestly survived, in my opinion. I was a history major before I became a director of church ministries in education. And I got to look at some cool cultures and understanding. And one of the things that we talked about many times when it was especially about ancient religion or ancient societies is that there was some kind of understanding of a God, because it helped unify the culture as well. Okay? So point number one, every culture has a God. Number two, every creation has a creator. All right? Every creation has a creator. Every design has a designer. Everything has to come from something. And everyone experiences beauty. What am I meaning by this? What I mean is that there has to be something. If something is created, if I make, for instance, this watch, someone had to create that watch. That watch was not made directly by God. It didn't just appear in the sand and someone just went up and went, okay, I can start using this watch. No. The watch had to have some kind of creator. They had to put the gears together. They had to make it. They had to put it all nice and make it look beautiful. And everything has to come from somewhere. So that had to come from somewhere. Now, this specific watch, we don't know who made it, but a watchsmith made it. The point is, we don't get the Big Bang or evolution without having first material. There has to be something in order for the Big Bang to happen. And that material has to come from somewhere. So where did it come from? And the best answer is not a place, but it's a person. It's a creator. It's a divine creator. Because when we think about a God, we think about how strong, how powerful, how they can do something. Even if we're not thinking about our God, the God who created everything, but if we just think about a God, and we're talking just in general, we think about how powerful, and they have to be bigger than us. Because a God has to be better than us in order to do something. And evidence for this is in the complex design above the world. I got to do some really, in some math classes and things like that, I got to see and play around with numbers of just how complex certain things are. One of the biggest examples is the Fibonacci sequence, where it can literally be seen in nature wherever you go. And you'll learn this in your classes as you go through grade school and high school, all right? I'm not going to bore you with the details of it. It's a geometry thing. But you can see it all throughout nature, and it's really cool. So every creation has a creator, and that includes us. The third, every law has a lawmaker. It's as simple as a smile. And cultures throughout history have had some sort of moral code. We have a knowledge of what is right and what is wrong. So we know that murder is wrong, right? Right? Yes, no. Murder's wrong, right? Yes. How do we know that? It's in our creation. Because we're a creation of a creator who gave us a moral code. A moral code is that set of laws in us that we understand as, we can't do this. We know it's wrong. So we know to follow what our parents have said. We know that. because God has first told us. And we are born with this sense of right and wrong. So you know when you've done something wrong. If you know you stole that piece of candy, or you know you talked behind someone's back and you have that like guilty feeling, that's that moral code that's been instilled in you. And it's been brought up as you were kids and your parents helped encourage that moral code. And that's actually where we get some of our rules and laws. Did you guys know that the United States of America is known as a Judeo-Christian nation, which means we have principles that can be found in the Ten Commandments. So our laws, funny enough, when the Founding Fathers kind of created our nation and were creating laws for us to follow, they used the Ten Commandments first and then built off of that. So every law that we have in this land, at least from the Founding Fathers, can be traced back to where the Ten Commandments are. Now, obviously, as we have gone about, some things have changed and some things have been, unfortunately, changed for the worse and have gone away from that principle. But the idea that we're a Judeo-Christian nation, meaning our roots were in Christianity and in the laws that were created. So first we have to understand that every culture has a God. Okay, so there's a God. And they created something. Because you can't just create something out of nothing. And then every law has a lawmaker. Interesting. Every law has a lawmaker. All of these points, taken separately, may not mean a whole lot, but when you put them all together, every culture has a God, every creation has a creator, and every law has a lawmaker. That's interesting. It all points to something that is beyond us, because we can't create something like this. Trust me, scientists have been trying to prove this for years. Have been trying to prove that the Big Bang could happen because, we can just create something. No, you can't. There's something different. There's something divine about it. So the only explanation that really truly makes sense, you could say there is no God, but the evidence points to the contrary. But to say God is real, it changes everything. C.S. Lewis once said, Christianity, if false, is of no importance, and if true, of infinite importance. The only thing it cannot be is moderately important. It's either extremely important or it doesn't matter at all. My favorite thing to ask people who are not Christians, and I've had conversations with atheists and people who do not believe, and that's fine. But I always ask them, what's it hurting that I believe? Well, if you're right, then it doesn't matter. But if I'm right, and what I believe is right, there's a lot that's at stake then. You ever thought about that? If we were wrong, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, so we went to church on Sunday. We did something good, Okay, great. But in the end, if there is nothing and we all pass away and there's nothing, okay, well, fine. But if we were right, that changes everything. Then there's something there. And I'm not telling you guys to do this in a puffed up chest way where I'm right, yep, look at me, I'm right. No. What I'm telling you is there is something important here. There is something to this God that's totally different. And our understanding of the divine, of God, it extends through all of time. It extends through everything. So this is just a start. Trust me, there's so much more I could go in depth with you guys, and maybe you'll grasp it, maybe you won't. I know I never always did. But I want you guys to start thinking about this idea, is God real? And talk about the things we talked about tonight with the whole, every culture has a God, every creation has a creator, and every law has a lawmaker. All right. As we move into our small group time, I want you guys to be using this. Did you guys see this last week at all? No? Okay. I'm going to explain this to you guys real quick. So this is something that you guys are going to be doing in your small groups. It's called the learning circle, or a kairos moment. Kairos is a Greek word that means time. And what we're talking about here is, it's a circle, obviously. So you start here. A kairos moment is when God's breaking into your life, that moment where something is different. So you observe the change, okay? You reflect on it. You discuss what happened. You make a plan of understanding of how to grow and use what was taught to you. You're held accountable for it, either by a friend, a parent, a small group leader. And then you do that exact thing that God was putting into your life. And then you go back into the circle in a different path. So you observe. All right, let me give you an example. For me, it would be God broke into my life when it came to humility. I observed what was happening and saw, and God kind of put, hey, you watch what you're doing here. I reflected on it, and I said, okay, hold on, what did I do wrong? I discussed it with, actually, Pastor Howard at the time, because he was my youth leader. I made a plan, I understood, and I said, okay, how can I watch myself next time? I had someone keeping accountability of me, so it was actually my teacher, Mr. Smedel over at Living Word. I was his teaching assistant at the time, and he helped me with making sure I wasn't, being too puffed up chest. And then I acted on it. So acting in that humility and being humble about what I was doing and when I was doing it. All right? And then going on with your life. Kairos moments can happen at any time, but what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to start noticing these things in your life, especially as you're going through confirmation, where it's an important time where you guys are learning and engaging in God's word. So, this is not something that you're going to be perfect overnight, but I want you guys to start practicing this, because this is what your small group leaders are going to be asking you every week. Have you had a Kairos moment this week? And maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Every week is different, and God will use you as he needs. So I want you guys to start looking at this and getting familiar with this. This is something we'll have up every week, and we'll remind you guys about it, but then your small group leaders will be talking about it as well, all right?